Welcome to the Gentle Ledger. Today is Monday, January 19th, 2026, and the market feels like an empty office on a national holiday. Lights on, systems humming quietly, but no one rushing to speak. Now, let's turn softly to the U.S. indexes, where today there was no trading as Wall Street observed Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The Dow Jones Industrial Average remains at its most recent close of 49,359.33. The Nasdaq Composite last resting at 23,515.39. and the S&P 500 holding near 6,940.01, all unchanged today simply because the market chose stillness. The Russell 2000 likewise stays near 2,677.74, carrying forward the quiet resilience it showed at the end of last week. In the absence of price movement, these numbers feel less like data points and more like placeholders, waiting patiently for the week ahead to begin. Gently moving into the corporate highlights, the absence of fresh U.S. trading allowed last week's narratives to linger a little longer. Semiconductor optimism continues to hover after strong late-week performances from names like Nvidia, Micron Technology, and Broadcom, each having closed Friday meaningfully higher. In financials, earnings from regional banks such as PNC Financial Services and larger institutions like JP Morgan remain in focus, their recent percentage moves still shaping sentiment even in today's pause. Consumer and retail names including Amazon and Nike sit unchanged today, but the questions around demand, pricing power, and margins remain softly present beneath the surface. Even without new price action, the corporate landscape feels active in thought, if not in trade. Overseas, in Asia and Europe, the mood carried across gently, providing a sense of motion while the U.S. remained still. In Asia, Japan's markets were closed for Coming of Age Day, while South Korea's Kospi edged modestly higher, supported by continued interest in chip exporters. Chinese and Hong Kong markets moved cautiously, with small directional changes reflecting ongoing policy sensitivity rather than conviction. In India, equities drifted slightly upward, maintaining their steady domestic rhythm. Across Europe, markets were open and subdued. The FTSE 100 and DAX moved narrowly, while the Stoxx 600 hovered near flat, as European investors absorbed global cues in the absence of U.S. leadership. In commodities and bonds, the story shifted quietly, even with American desks largely offline. Gold held near recent elevated levels, steady rather than reactive, continuing to reflect a world still attentive to geopolitical and macro uncertainty. Oil prices moved modestly, with Brent and WTI fluctuating within a narrow range as traders balanced supply narratives without urgency. In U.S. Treasuries, yields were largely unchanged in holiday-thinned trading, the 10-year hovering near last week's levels, as if respecting the broader pause in risk markets. Turning now to the newer corners of finance, in crypto land there was gentle motion rather than silence. Bitcoin traded calmly around the upper $90,000, drifting slightly but without drama, while Ethereum held near the low $3,000, both reflecting a market that continues to operate even when traditional finance rests. These movements felt subdued and respectful, present but unassertive, mirroring the broader tone of the day. As this quiet Monday draws to a close, let's rest in the reflective summary and outlook. Today was defined not by movement, but by space, a rare pause that allows recent narratives to settle before the week resumes. With earnings season unfolding and global markets quietly advancing in the background, the stillness itself feels informative. Tonight, let the calm of a market at rest carry you gently forward, unhurried, attentive, and grounded. Good night.